Hello everybody, my name is Simiard, and I will be casting my very first StarCraft 2 game. This match will be between Ace, the red Protoss, and Max, the blue Terran. The map is Scrap Station. Now, if you've never played Scrap Station before, you will notice on the bottom left corner on the minimap that there is a very short air rush distance between the two players, which of course promotes air rushes. You can walk all the way to the bottom of the map, past this Zelnaga watchtower, to the other player's base. But that is quite a walk for the troopers going to the enemy base. This means that there will not be any sort of cheesy rush coming from another player. You might see a proxy barracks in some of these locations on the natural, maybe a proxy Reaper, but we won't be seeing that this game as there is not an SCV over there to be building the barracks. We have an 11 barracks coming out from the blue Terran Max, very standard. A 13 gateway coming from Ace. Now Ace is checking for, like I was saying, a proxy barracks in the natural. Does not see anything and will be going on his scouting way. Even checking over here for a barracks, sees nothing. Going to be going to the Terran player's base. Now because he went to check for all those locations for cheese, he will have his scout a little bit later. I don't think it'll matter very much because the SCV is not really going to see a whole lot. He will see the later going up, which makes me assume that, you know, the Protoss player will be very standard, placing down his cybernetics core, getting out the stalker to kill the SCV. The Terran player's base, we do see a Marine first, and Marine will be to ward off this scouting probe. Having a 12 command center going up to the Terran player, playing very safe. He sees that the Protoss player is not building any zealots, he's getting his cybernetics cores, no multiple gateways. There's not going to be any real early rushes coming out of the Protoss player. So the Terran player is just taking it nice, getting his tech lab, getting his orbital command, getting a Marauder out of the barracks, very, very standard. And the Protoss player is getting a double assimilator, double gas. This makes me assume that the Protoss player will be getting a Stargate, getting fast Void Ray or Phoenix to attack the Terran player. Void Rays are fairly effective against the Terran players. They can switch straight to Marines or Vikings if they have the technology, but the Protoss player can just respond by building more zealots or going straight to Colossi, and there's very, very many options for the Protoss player. And oh, there is the brigade coming out of the Protoss player. They're actually going for the destructive trees in the middle of the map. I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can shorten the rush distance between the base by destroying these two destructible rocks going along this little bridge. This is a great spot for a Terran to set up tanks or set up contain for the Protoss player, as it forces the Protoss player to go through a narrow choke, and that really benefits the Terran player with siege tanks, which do massive damage, massive splash damage. I don't know if the Terran player has spotted this Stargate. No, he has not. This is the... Oh, and there goes the scan. He will actually see the Stargate. So the Terran player is getting a reactor on the barracks. This will be to produce double the Marines, which will be very effective against the Void Ray. I don't see this Void Ray doing any immediate damage to the Terran player, as he will have many Marines on the field, as well as Stimpack almost already completed. The Terran player is just making his way through the rockets. This will be very effective, as the Terran player is getting a factory. He is not going for a very, very heavy infantry push. And the Protoss player has not gone for his expansion. He is not going for a very heavy macro game. He is keeping his minerals low, producing lots of units, which will mean that the Terran player will not be able to overrun him at his base. He will not be able to eke out an advantage from one base. This Stalker is getting a little too feisty, and oh! very, very interesting. The Terran player actually only stemmed one Marauder, saving the other ones from losing the 10 health to snipe off that feisty Stalker getting a little overzealous going into the Terran player's base. Protoss player losing a Stalker, having it spread out, not real good for the Protoss player losing that Stalker. Terran player only has a slightly injured Marauder, and the Protoss player is actually down a Stalker. Looking on the production tab, we will see that the factory is producing a reactor. I assume that will be for the factory to lift off, and a starport to land down on the reactor. The starport can produce Vikings or medvacs from this reactor. It can produce 2 at a time. It can produce 2 Vikings, 2 medvacs, or 1 of each, depending on what he needs. Protoss player still producing from this 1 Stargate, only having 2 warp gates, keeping his money low, but I don't see actually going for his expansion where the Terran player is not. And there goes the switch. As I was saying, I don't see these Void Rays being extremely useful, as the Terran player has quite a few Marines. He actually has 10 Marines, and he has a starport producing a Viking and a medvac. Medvac to support this infantry, and a Viking to ward off the Void Rays. Now, if the Protoss player attacks now, he will actually catch the Terran player off guard, as the Terran player has been taking up to this starport. Does not have any Vikings on the field, and he will only have 1. And, oh, it does look like Ace is going to be attacking. He is actually charging up on the destructible debris. The Void Rays, they start out with minimal damage, but after a couple seconds of attacking, they do, as you see, have a wider beam. They do more damage. Keeping the charge and actually going into the attack. The Protoss player has fully charged something. He has enough to take out the Terran player. Oh, killing all the Marines, all that are left Marauders, which of course cannot shoot air. The Void Rays will have much to do in this Terran player, but much to kill. Charging up on the supply depot, and the Terran player, going for a drop in the Protoss' base, dropping off 4 Marauders to do some economic damage. The Protoss player needs to go there to hold off the probes. Terran player had micro filling up these players. Not what he needs to be doing. Terran player is fully focused on the battle of base, not pulling off the enemies, microing his Vikings, which do outrange the Void Rays, so outnumbered. Terran player is just trying to defend. If he can defend this rush in his base, these Marauders are going unchecked in the Protoss base. Only 1 Stalker attacking, while the rest of them go and kill off. He must actually kill this Nexus. And, oh! Vikings actually drop 2 Stalkers, but that last hit from the Viking does kill off the Void Rays. SCV is pulling off the line to kill these remaining Stalkers. Marauders having a heyday inside the Protoss base, kills the Nexus, kills Stalkers, kills Pylons, just having no problem going in for the kill, actually going for the Stalker first, ignoring the rest, and the big pot in the probe. If the Protoss player does not kill these Marauders, that will be GG. Oh, and there's the GG! Man, wonderful game between the Ace and Max, the Protoss and the Terran.